People will often talk about the best horror games of all time. You'll hear Resident Evil, Last of Us, Until Dawn, Dead Space, but one franchise seems to have fallen off the face of the earth: Silent Hill. Or, more specifically, what seems to be the franchise favorite, Silent Hill 2. What is going on, guys? This is TheLostYeti here, and today we're going to be seeing if Silent Hill 2 is still one of the best horror games of all time, or if it's just better off forgotten. Now, for the sake of the video here, and for all of you playing along at home, for this video we're going to be playing the original release of the game without all the fancy extra endings. And before anyone asks, yes, we did in fact use a guide because, as you may or may not know, this game is super easy to get lost in, and links to the guide if you want to use it for yourself will be in the description box down below. As always, guys, spoilers, but the fact that this game is nearly 23 years old, I think we're good to move forward. Now, the game starts off and it doesn't really give us much to go on. We are playing as James Sunderland, and we are currently in the titular Silent Hill. All we have is a letter from our deceased wife telling us to meet her in our special
my restless
place.
dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place.
James is convinced that she's referring to how she always wanted to go back to Silent Hill, and naturally is following that blindly. We as the player should have known that something was wrong when we first decided to enter the city through the graveyard. Being the perfectly normal person that James is, after catching someone out of the corner of his eye, he decides, maybe I should just ask them for directions.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry. I
No,
was
it's
just...
okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Yeah. I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
Thanks.
But
Yes?
I think you'd better stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it. It's kind of hard to explain, but
Is it dangerous?
maybe. And it's not just the fog either.
Okay,
It's...
I got it. I'll be careful.
And normally people don't tell you not to go somewhere when you ask for directions, so clearly a simple warning is not enough to deter our hero, as he just decides, I'm gonna head into town anyways. And sure, that may be excusable. But what I want to know is who in their right mind finds a grisly scene like this and goes, maybe I should follow the blood tracks. And it's not too much deeper into the fog before he hears a quite unusual noise. Maybe that's where all of this blood came from. Throwing total caution to the wind, he had to go investigate. Ah yes, off-brand zombies. Now everything makes perfect sense. Also, at this point, I need to take a moment to acknowledge the clunky controls of this game. I just want to point out the attack button, the pickup button, and the open door button, they're all the same. I swear it's the horrible controls and not how horrible I am at this game. That said, this is about an hour into the game, and I also just realized you didn't have to hold down the sprint button to sprint. You could set it to auto. So maybe it is my lack of skills. It's here that we begin to both brute force the directions, figuring out where we need to go, and the combat in the game as we slowly start to make our way towards the water. But first, for some reason, the game wants us to take a detour through some apartments. And at first you'd think, perfect excuse. You can stock up for the new zombie apocalypse or whatever's going on. But after I spent way too long trying to pick up a gun from a shopping basket, I realized that I had to go backtrack, go find a flashlight. And now, all of a sudden, with my newfound flashlight, I can actually pick up the gun. So, that happens. And, I forgot to mention, without a flashlight, you also can't use your map when you're in the dark. So, this game really has it out for me. It is also during our exploration of the apartments that the game has us reach into a questionable wall hole. There we find a key to the clock, which is the first of many clever puzzles in this game. Now, I'll be honest, I thankfully stumbled into the correct answer, which unlocked the clock. And somehow that means that the clock now can be pushed, whereas before it was locked into the floor. But let's be honest, this game stopped making sense a while back in this video, so I'm not going to correct them now. Sneaking through this passageway, we first begin to encounter pyramid head enemies, as well as an equally terrifying canned juice, because clearly that's what we want to be clogging our inventory with. Although in true fashion, we use it maybe 5 minutes later to solve a puzzle. So I guess we did need to clog our inventory with it. And at this time, we're first introduced to another younger character who's stuck in this wasteland, Eddie. Unfortunately, he's getting sick in the bathroom, so we're going to glaze over this for right now.
My name's James.
Eventually, after our strange encounter, we make our way to the fire escape, only to find, on opening it, that it leads directly into another building. It's like something directly out of the Twilight Zone. Out of curiosity, we head across, only to find a few more items out of place. More specifically, a peculiar white door. And behind it, we find another survivor.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah, I'm James.
Angela.
Angela, okay. I don't know what you're planning, but there's always another way.
Really?
I've got to find my mama.
Should I go with you? This town's dangerous. Now I know what you meant back there in the cemetery.
I'll be okay by myself. Besides, I'd just slow you down.
What about that?
Will you hold it for me?
Sure. No problem.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do.
After Angela runs off, we decide maybe we should collect that knife before she decides to change her mind, as well as the last piece for our next puzzle. Our second puzzle, pretty much as simple as the last, requires us to place 3 coins in a specific order into this chest, and once we actually got them all in the correct order, it opens a secret drawer with a new key for us to find a home to. It's now that we're finally granted access to the stairwell, but we're not alone. It seems that the Pyramid Head has us cornered, and yeah, he bashed my head in a few times before I realized the whole point of this fight was just to run away. So I bravely ran away, down the stairs, and out into the street. Here we bump into a little girl who seems to know a little bit too much about our dead wife.
You! It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
Huh? Are you blind or something?
What's that letter?
None of your business. You didn't love Mary anyway.
Wait! How do you know Mary's name?
She promptly runs off, so we return to making our way to the waterfront. Approaching the water, we see the silhouette of what appears to be our
Mary?
wife.
No, you're not.
Do I look like your girlfriend?
No, my late wife. I can't believe it. You could be her twin. Your face, your voice, just your hair and clothes are different.
My name is Maria.
Finding that it's not our wife Mary, but instead, Maria? As if I'm supposed to know who that is.
I was confused.
Where are you going?
Or coming with me?
You were gonna just leave me?
No, but
With all these monsters around?
no, I just...
I'm all alone here. Everyone else is gone. I look like Mary, don't I? You loved her, right?
She seems a little too kind and definitely too clingy. And very concerningly, I don't like how she looks almost identical to our deceased wife. That and how James so quickly agrees to be a glorified babysitter is just a very uncomfy pairing. But what do I know?
It's no
So
good.
together,
It's
we
locked.
decide to continue on because apparently there's one other place that might be the special place Mary was referring to. Now, turns out that Maria is not totally useless, as she actually lets us in through one of the local businesses. Although, I'm not going to start asking questions of why she seems to have keys to a adult club, as we'll say it. We're going to let that one go unanswered. We end up catching up with the little girl that we saw run earlier, and of course she goes to hide in a place that every kid loves, a creepy abandoned hospital. Now, although at this point it is a little cliche that we're going to the creepy old hospital in this creepy old town, I will say this is actually where the game strives. The atmosphere at this point and the graphics and everything kind of just start to flow really well. All the controls at this point are all down pat, the combat's pretty fluid, and you actually get that feeling of somewhat a mystery and terror even as you have to wander through all the rooms. So, forced maybe, but actually fun and good horror game design, yeah, definitely. You get to apply all the things that you've learned earlier in the game, and although the puzzles are actually getting arbitrarily harder, you start to develop like a problem-solving technique just through the nature of the game, and it all flows really well. And I must also compliment the roof scene with Pyramid Head where you get thrown off. Chef's kiss. But I still don't understand the creator's fixation with creepy, gross holds, because then you promptly have to solve another puzzle to reach down into a shower drain. After all this, we're finally deep enough into the hospital that we can catch up with the little girl.
Laura?
Huh? You know my name?
Eddie told me.
That big fat blabbermouth.
How do you know about Mary?
What's the big deal?
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No, I won't. I'm sorry, Laura. Anyway, let's go.
We've now learned their name is Laura, and after taking some time to try to be nice and learn her name and be her friend, she promptly backstabs us by locking us in a room with a monster and leaving us for dead.
What are you doing, Laura?
It's further back in the desk.
Laura! What are you doing?
Ha ha. I tricked you.
Open the door, Laura.
Why should I? I'm alive, right?
Now, I can't say I exactly know what the developers were going for with whatever monster this is, kind of a wall of flesh vibe, if you will. Not exactly the most complicated boss fight, although definitely a really satisfying one. You've collected a bunch of ammo at this point, so just being able to completely unload and kick this guy's butt, yeah, satisfying. It's the little things, right?
James. James.
After somehow waking up in the courtyard, we decide we need to go and regroup with Maria. We grab Maria, and the fever dream continues. We decide that we take the elevator down to the lower floor, and as we are on our way down, we have a spontaneous game show over the intercom. Listen, I wish I was making this up. This game is definitely weird. And don't worry, because all of that will be culminated in those answers opening a puzzle lock later in the game. And no, that's definitely not the weirdest puzzle, because only moments later there's also a puzzle where you have to take rings and put it on a 3D painting's like mannequin arms so the door opens. Honestly, I don't know how the writers come up with this. The painting puzzle opens a hidden hallway where we have a brief encounter with another pyramid head. And as we're trying to make our getaway, well, I don't think we'll be worried about escorting Maria anymore. I'll just leave that there. We flee the hospital and begin heading towards the Historical Society. Now, I'm going to cut out a bunch of the random zombie encounters and things here just because not a whole lot kind of develops in this part of the story. But I will say we also see a lot of foreshadowing bloody messages that I'm not entirely sure where they're coming from. But after not too much time, we end up actually at the Historical Society, and they have some questionable design choices. For whatever reason, we're compelled to jump into this bottomless pit. And I suppose you could say that James has quite literally gone off the deep end. As we fall deeper and deeper, there's actually even another event at the bottom of what appears to be a well, which is quite clever, where we're forced to, well, brute force a padlock by looking at the wear marks on the padlock and just trying each combination. I wrote them out on a pad. It really gives you actual panic because it makes you think the way the whole game had played up to this point. Did I miss a clue that I was supposed to get, or am I just being silly? Again, this is where the guide came in really helpful, where I just realized, again, I just had to brute force it. And behind this door, we end up actually in some form of a underground prison under the Historical Society. You are following this correctly. The prison twists and contorts like some form of a labyrinth, unlike any prison I've ever heard of. And as we find a secret passageway that seems to even go through a aluminum padded cell, the graphics make it hard to tell. That's where we actually find a single, alone cell with Maria? You're telling me she's not dead? Unfortunately, my audio at this point in the game was really rough, so we're going to talk right over it. Basically, Maria is telling us what seems to be some of Mary's memories, which is a bit concerning, and telling us to go to some hotel and watch some tape. And at this point, I don't really know if everything like around us in the environment is real or if we're seeing things. It's just really hard to digest exactly what's happening. And most importantly, I don't even know if I can trust Maria anymore because I thought she literally died. So I guess we do have to go to the hotel, but it really makes me apprehensive. We turn back into the labyrinth and shortly after find Angela, where it seems that she's actually started to lose her mind, and she begins to accuse us of killing our wife. Concerningly, James doesn't exactly deny the accusations other than trying to avoid the conversation altogether, and it makes me think that the people in this world, speaking Eddie and Angela, both of them appear to have killed people to end up here. And at this point in the game, it was starting to make me wonder if Silent Hill was like some form of a representation of purgatory. And speaking of Eddie, it doesn't take long until we run into him too. But this time, it seems like he's out for blood. He too has seemed to have gone mad, and for whatever reason is actively trying to kill us. So I tried to cheese this part of the game where I just avoided it or tried to run away, and that didn't seem to work. So unfortunately, you do have to beat him to progress the story. And if you guys figured out a way to cheese it or avoid this, let me know. But what's weird here is when James approaches Eddie, he seems much more remorseful about his actions, and makes me second think if my purgatory comment was true, because I don't know if he would react this way if he also was a killer. Giving ourselves a second to think over what just happened, we exit the fight, and suddenly we're back above ground after diving down all of those wells and shafts, and the world just seems to be transforming around us at this point. Now, being that the hotel is supposed to be across the cove from us, and that we're already at the dock, we start to look for a boat, and soon set sail for the further shore, following what seems to be the light in the distance. This, too, kind of ties into my purgatory theory, but we won't get too far ourselves. Finally, across the water, we find our way into the hotel, where we actually run into Laura. And this is when we find, after some time, that she also was looking for Mary. We learned that her whole connection was that she actually shared the same nurse as Mary, which makes me wonder if she's also passed on? Like, are we talking with a ghost or something? We continue wandering around the hotel, collecting music boxes to solve the next puzzle, and we soon find the videotape, as well as the key to the hotel room where Mary and James stayed. At last, in the room, we do find a TV and a VCR. So, naturally, we have to plug the tape in. This is when the story comes full circle. Playing the videotape shows us that not only did Mary appear very ill, but also cuts away and looks like James stabbing Mary in the bed. This in and of itself is like a form of whiplash, and questioning if what I saw was also real. We have a quick conversation with Laura as she wandered into the room, and James confirmed that he did in fact kill his own wife.
No. I killed her.
But now, with that said, we've confirmed that she's passed on. So, who is this Mary that's calling us over the radio? We head out of the hotel room, and now the entire hotel appears completely dilapidated and falling apart, almost as if everything that we saw before was not the reality. And this is also kind of confirmed as we open one door, which is literally underwater, and suddenly we're in a completely burning building. I was concerned at first when Angela approached, but she was calling us her mama until she touches our face, realizing that we are not in fact our mama. And
Angela, no.
it seems that all the people in this world are now seeing their own horrors. And when she runs off, we take the same exit that we came in from, and suddenly the fire's just gone. It kind of confirms that, again, we're seeing things that really just aren't there. We have another brief fight with two pyramid heads at once. Before ending up in a long, eerie hallway. As we head further down the hallway, we hear what seem to be Mary's last wishes.
Flowers. I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home already.
Mary, what are you saying?
Look, I'm disgusted. I don't deserve flowers. Between the disease and the drugs, I look like a monster.
She says how afraid
What are
she
you
is,
looking at?
how it seems that her
Get the hell
sickness had
outta
really
here.
begun to get to her,
Leave me
both
alone already.
physically and
No
mentally.
use to anyone.
And as we open the door at the end of the hallway,
Be dead
the
soon
conversation
anyway.
abruptly
Maybe
ceases.
today.
We climb the metal steps to the top of the hotel, where it appears we finally found her.
Wrong again. Mary's dead. You killed her.
Maria? Maria, I'm done with you.
What do you mean? But I can be yours. I'll be here for you forever. And I'll never yell at you or make you feel bad. That's what you wanted.
Now I understand. The problem is, you're not Mary.
No, James. I won't let you. I'll never let you have your Mary back.
But instead, it turns out that this is Maria. Or rather, what we knew as Maria, as she is some sort of a monster that has been trying to take the place of Mary. It's clear that James needs to defeat his demons, and although the boss fight does take a little bit of time and is a little bit tedious, it's not overly hard, so we make quick work of this Maria. After dealing the final blow, we actually get a cutscene where it seems to take us back to Mary's bedside.
James.
Forgive me.
I told you that I wanted to die, James. I wanted the pain to end.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer. No. That's not the whole truth. You also said that you didn't want to die. The truth is, part of me hated you for taking away my life.
You killed me, and you're suffering for it. It's enough, James.
But oddly enough, both Mary and James seem to already have known the outcome of her passing. It seems that Mary now finally forgives James for his actions, and James has come to accept that. And the last things that we actually hear James say is now the two can finally be together. The cutscene is followed with the entirety of Mary's letter to the nurse, which we had slowly kind of put together throughout the game, and a final results screen. And for those of you who are curious, feel free to pause the game right here and just see my overall stats for my playthrough. I know there are a bunch of different endings to this game and more in the re-releases, so please let me know down in the comment section below what endings you got on your first playthrough. Keep in mind this was my first one that I tried to not be as influenced by any of the guide, except when I got stuck, or any external resources. I must say that this game really subverted my expectations. I think a lot of it is the game's story itself that just really made me think and made me question everything that was really going on. The writing is really what makes it. The controls are clunky. The lack of a HUD and stuff like that in the modern gaming landscape probably wouldn't do well. But it was really refreshing. It was like just a very good experience to have. Did it need to take me 6 hours? No, the stay was probably a little bit longer than it should have. But I will say the last 2 to 3 hours of the game were quite good. Now, the bosses left me wanting a little bit more, but I did play through this game on easy because I didn't really want to be stuck on a boss forever. To me, it just takes the fun out of the game, so I won't knock it for that. Please, again, if you've played this before, let me know in the comments if that's the case for all of y'all. There wasn't a whole lot of different sequences that you might see in modern games. But I do think that the game, if it were to be remastered with a fresh coat of paint, as long as they don't completely change it, would be really good. And I'm really glad that I decided to actually go back and give it a chance and give it that experience. And I hope now that you've watched this video and, you know, if you have access to the game or can have access to the game, that you check it out for yourself. Silent Hill is actually due for a re-release of the second game on October 8th. So if you have the chance to play it, at least the new version, let me know what you think. I'm very curious, and I know it will be on my radar. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video as well as this game. If you made it this far, please consider leaving a like on the video. It really does help this video reach a wider audience, and as a smaller channel, I do appreciate you. As always, guys, this has been your host, TheLostYeti. Please let me know what other games I should cover in my Do You Remember series. Love to hear from you. But for now, that's all we got time for. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.